Well, hello, and welcome back if you've watched or listened to the abomination that episode 1 was. If not, welcome to the app. You are now my dear friend in my living room, and you're just gonna have me in the background yapping about stuff for the next few minutes. I'll try and make this episode a bit longer than the last one. Last one kind of trailed off, and then it was like 4 minutes after it was done with the things I wanted to talk about. So today I'm trying a bit longer. We'll see how that goes. So you might see that the scenery has changed a bit. There, I'm in my new apartment, and it's finally coming together a bit. The start when I first came here, it was completely filled with old furniture and all my stuff and all my boxes. And now I've built all the closets and I've put stuff away. And now finally there's some breathing room. And then in the last few days, I started properly decorating it. I bought a bajillion plants. I need to repot some of them to get them a bigger pot. I bought a bunch of lamps. I want more lamps. And yeah, putting some things on my way too big coffee table. My coffee table is about the same size as my couch. This one was also from the old apartment in there. But yeah, it was just at the start it was bothering me a lot because like everything felt so empty and characterless, and now it's slowly coming together, and I'm really starting to like this place. I finally removed all of the ugly lamps. Not all of them. There's one left. They were hideous. And I still have a hole in the wall that I need to patch from that lamp. So I'm gonna do that after I finish recording this. And yeah, I'm happy. Big windows, sunlight. Did not have that in my old place, and it was really bothering me. The start it was fine, but it was always cozy. It was always a cozy living room, and it was cute. And I used to call it a hobbit hole because it's nice. It was small in a narrow, cute street. But like if it's 2 p.m. on a summer afternoon, you don't want it to feel like 4 p.m. winter where you just want to lay on the couch and watch TV. Like it was that type of darkness, especially because the street was extremely narrow and therefore there was just no sunlight like available in the street to even go through the small windows. Um, so yeah, and then this one gets a lot of light, especially morning sun, and I have a little park outside where I can go to for the evening sun, and it's great. I've been enjoying this. All right, now episode 2. I actually have a topic to talk about this time, and it's something that I've been thinking about more and more recently, and it's labels. But like labels you give yourself. I mean, there's always people giving labels to other people, and do with that whatever you want. But I think it's kind of overlooked that we give labels to ourselves as well. They are kind of like just a concept you get growing up, and you assign that concept to yourself, and you're just like, oh, that is me. And there's a lot of times just no real basis for them, and they just stick around. And there's nothing inherently wrong with having like a specific thought about yourself, because also it's kind of like your identity in some way, right? But I think it's bad if you let the labels stop you from doing things just because prior person has assigned them. Like, younger yourself has assigned a random label to you, and now this stops you from trying something new. I think that's where the problem is. One thing my dad always used to say is that, like, the easiest thing to do is play dumb. Being like, oh, I don't know how to do this. And this kind of reminds me of this because, I mean, obviously you're not playing dumb, but kind of taking, oh, this is not me, as an excuse to not do something because that's not who you are. Like, what's that supposed to mean? Who determines who you are? That's all you. You determine that. So, you know, why why say, oh, I'm not that person, I'm not gonna do that? So this might now sound very vague, um, but I have a nice example for this. You're just like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? But I've thought about this recently with a example, um, about how I was always like a math kid during school. You know, I don't know how your guys' school was, but for me, there was always, or in my head at least, right? There was always like the maths people, and then there was the humanities people, or like the languages or stuff like that. You know, and I was always like a maths kid. I liked maths, I liked chemistry, physics. I was always good in them. I had good grades in them. And yeah, this like started from kindergarten. You know, I would enjoy doing Sudoku. I would enjoy playing with like technical Lego and like building robots and stuff like that. And this also carried through all my life. Looking at grades, I was always a lot better in like maths than in language courses or in history or stuff like that. Right? So naturally, in my mind, it was like, oh, I'm a math person, not a languages person. And I mean, sure, I am a technically skilled person. I studied computer science. Like, it does everything align, obviously. But again, the bad part is when it stops you from doing other things. So, what did it stop me from? Well, learning languages. During high school, I always I never enjoyed French. I don't know why, but I mean, I guess it's also like a normal thing for a small kid to just hate having to memorize random vocabulary off the top of their head for something that feels very intangible. You know, I had no ambitions of doing something in France, and then I'm forced to learn French. Um, Now I lost my thread. So okay, so we have that. And I hated German class. Um, and also, again, I feel like this is more related to like art or I never liked art class, but now I'm like, I love art. So like, why didn't I like art class? I don't know. History, again, it was just randomly like memorizing facts. That's how it felt to me. Um, but also, I feel like I'm maybe not interested in history, but I'm very interested in the world and what's going on. I'm just not about interested about things that happened, but I'm interested about things that are happening or are going to happen. Um, but well, so I had a hard time with French in high school, and then I was also like, I didn't like English class, but that was not because I didn't like English. That was because I did not like writing essays. And to this day, I still do not enjoy writing texts necessarily, especially if they are for a, like, you know, if they have to have a certain shape. If I'm writing a text for myself, like, I have zero problem with that. Um, but well, English, it was always like English was easy. I did not have the best grades in English. They weren't bad, but you know, my math grade was better. But that was just because of the writing text and not by me not knowing the language or not learning the language well. I was always quite good in English because I mean I watched like a shit ton of YouTube tutorials, on programming, on maths when I was younger. Um, so yeah, it's just the it's not necessarily related to languages, and it's not that me like being better at math that means that I'm worse at English. But hold on, I'm getting to a point here. I'm trying to weave the thread. Right. So then I did an exchange from university in Singapore, and I had to take 5 courses. And I was like, I had 4 courses, and I was just looking through a list of courses, and I saw a Chinese one. I was like, oh, that might be fun. It was it was more on a whim that I was just like, yeah, I can, like, maybe just take that course. It's maybe not gonna be too hard, and then I have, yeah, it's funny to say, oh, I know some Chinese, you know, and then Chinese was, it, again, not one of my best courses. It was a bit hard as well, and it was especially quite a hard course because, well, Chinese is a hard language, and it's especially like such a different structure, and like way of thinking than any of the other languages that I know. So that was quite tough, obviously, but I found it very interesting because I used to always have a lot of miscommunication with my teacher because I would ask a question and I would get an answer for something else. And then it took some weeks to figure out how should I ask the question such that she understands what I mean. Because my teacher was from China. And also the other way around, obviously, when she said something, it took some time for me to understand how, like, what does she mean by this? It was in English, but still, like, it was not really an answer to my question. It was like tangential. And so this is kind of the main thing that I learned from this. Not that I remember a lot of Chinese, but kind of the way of thinking made like an image in my head. Um, but yeah, but I find it a fascinating language, especially because of that reason. Um, and yeah, now here comes the point that then after I did this course, I did it just because I had to do the course. But after I was done with it, later I was thinking, oh, I still find it a interesting language. Should I continue to learn it? And then my mind went, no, you're not a languages person. This it does not really make sense for you. I wasn't like, my brain was not, no, don't do it. My brain was just like, yeah, no, it does not really make sense. This is also my inherent, like, wish for efficiency, that want to be efficient with everything. So it was like, yeah, it does not, it doesn't make sense for you to learn this language because you're better at other things or your time is spent more wisely on other things. But, well, if I want to do it, I should just do it, right? Um, and then I thought, yeah, like, where does this thought come from? From, I'm just a languages person, right? And I realized it's kind of stupid. I should not keep myself from learning that language because just my prior experiences with a language I did not like does not determine that I'm now gonna be bad at learning this other language or that I shouldn't do it. So I really would say this made me think about more other things because this was really like a whoa moment that I had like mid thought, and it really made me think, what other things did I just give myself a label and then decided to not even try to change them or to adapt if I wanted to because it was like, oh, this is not who I am. This does not make sense for me. And I just think that labels in general are not useful, but especially labels you give yourself should not decide your life in any way, shape, or form. So I'm trying to learn Chinese a bit because I just find it super fascinating. And because it's so different. Because it's such a different concept of a language than all of the other languages, I also really feel like people just think different. And I truly believe that through knowing a culture's language, you can better understand how the people think. Um, Especially like, even I have a lot of friends from different countries, and then when you first meet them, it's hard to understand what they mean, even if they talk English. But because there's just other ways of phrasing things from like your native language where you come from. So then you know more people, or you know more people from that country already, and then you meet another person, or like, for example, you know a little bit of Spanish. If you now talk to a Spanish person and they say something that's kind of wrong in English, but you can get where it comes from Spanish, well, now it makes total sense. So I really feel like knowing a language that's so far away is gonna like broaden the horizon a bit as well. And this is another point that I just really believe exposure to like different things is great. And I mean, maybe this is just like a hobby for me. Maybe it's just something that I find fun and that I try to reason that it's useful for my life. Maybe it isn't, and maybe it's just I enjoy different cultures. Maybe that's just it. But I truly believe if you meet people from other places, from other cultures, from far away, and the further away, the more of an impact it has. As I feel like when you meet different beliefs, and I'm not talking about like religious beliefs or something greater. I'm talking just about little things, little habits, little things that are just different in different cultures. If you notice these, I think it also translates, if you allow yourself to. It allows you to translate them to maybe accepting other beliefs in your closer circle as well. You're like, oh, this person thinks something different. That's all right. Um, yeah. I don't know. I don't remember what really my point was here. Um, but yeah, I think I'm gonna think a bit more about what else. What else have I given myself over the years? In which other drawer have I put myself into? And do I still want to be in that drawer? And I think that's also a thing you should think about yourself. And if you think, oh, I want to do this, just do it, because nobody else decides what you're capable or what you're made for doing or not. And with that, I will see you in episode 3. Maybe I'm gonna have some more points. Maybe I'm just gonna ramble on about random thoughts. We'll see. We'll see.